Okay, so at our last video, we were dealing with some memory problems, and we purchased some Corsair Vengeance with the red LED to make up for the fact that we have one Corsair module that was bad and causing system instability. So really, this clip is just to show that we're currently quite stable. Though I don't really know how to play this game. um,
W.
oh, W. Okay, there we go. So it is fairly stable, and if you actually know how to play, you can do something. And the whole idea here is just to show that we have a fairly stable system, and we're about to install new memory. I'm going to only install one module at a time, because really we're going to just start off with 32 with 16 gig. Eventually work our way up to 32 gig, but we're going to start with 16 gig. This is the unboxing of the Corsair Vengeance DDR4 2x8 gig, so 16 gig total, 2666 megahertz. And basically the reason we're doing this is that our initial build had one Corsair memory module that was bad and was causing system instability. So we're basically going to try to show you how to avoid killing a memory module. We actually don't know why the memory module was bad, whether it was mishandling on our part or whether it came from the factory with a problem. You know, whether it got dropped or something, we don't know. It definitely wasn't dropped in our case, but we're pretty sure at this point that we know it was one Corsair memory module, and I still have it. And we're going to attempt to replace it in the DIMM4 slot. And the main thing I want to point out is when you're taking these out, you do want to be very, very careful not to touch the gold contacts. Now, that could be one way that a memory module could be hurt, is if the gold contacts are touched. And I just want to show you how it is possible when you're taking these out. I mean, the good thing about these memory modules is they're shielded. The bad thing is they can be kind of hard to take out of the case. So up here, I can kind of push it out, and if I'm careful, I'm not going to touch it. I think the lower one is a little bit more difficult because your hand might be right here, and you might potentially touch the gold contact. So just be careful when taking out this other one. So anyway, we're going to start with making sure we know where the cutout is. And notice I'm not actually touching the gold contacts at all. And so what I want to do is I want to come over, the system is off. I'm grounding myself against the case. Just have to move things out of the way here so that I can get the memory module in there. Now if you do put this in upside down, it will not go in, so mainly do not force it. And if you do put this in right, it will snap in just very, very nicely. So let's just give it a gentle push. So one is in, and the other one's in. So that's sliding in very nicely. And the two latches on either side have come up and have locked in the memory module. So we're good. Now we're ready to do a test. So I'm going to close this. I want to keep it separate from my other Corsair memory module, which is bad because I obviously don't want to accidentally use the bad one. But we're going to put that back in this box. And we're going to power on again, and basically the MSI Z178 Gaming Pro Carbon BIOS is going to force us to go into setup. So the other memory module had no problem with the actual red LEDs working, but the system did become very, very unstable with it. And of course we do have a DRAM LED that just came on there, but that usually happens in the beginning. And okay, so it's telling us we need to go into setup, so we're going to go into setup by pressing F1. And so we're going to end up rebooting. And when we reboot, I'm actually not going to do anything. I'm not setting any overclocking right now. I really just want to have a stable system with 16 gig of memory. So I exit, say just yes, even though I didn't actually make any changes. So we can pay attention to the debug LEDs there. I'm only going to be concerned if the debug LEDs come on and they stay on. If they do stay on, then that would be an indication that there's a DRAM problem. And I'm hoping not to have another DRAM problem because basically I did with the last module that was in the DIMM4 slot. Okay, so we're up. The MSI logos come on and Windows is starting to boot. So what we're going to do is, if we can get into Windows, okay, oh, we just had an update. So the update happened actually before we put in the memory module. Now we're booting up and Windows is applying the updates now as we come online. And hopefully this goes quick enough. Okay, so that actually booted up so fast we couldn't show you the end of the Windows update. But basically we are in Windows. We're about to log in, and we're going to do the same stress test that we did before. We're going to do Gary's mod test, and if that holds up, we know we have a pretty stable system. Okay, all right. So we're now in Windows after logging in, and it's going through the normal startup process. We have 15.9 gig of memory, and this is what we really want to continue with our testing. And before we actually put our MSI graphics card in, so we're going to run it through a little bit of a test here. We have a whole bunch of things going on here, a whole bunch of notifications, and I'm not really ready to do anything else except do a Gary's mod stress test. And so we're going to come over here. Hopefully there's a lot of noise going on with the system right now, mainly because of the Windows update that just happened. So let's see if I can get some things cleared out of here. All I want to do is to go into Steam and start up Steam. Go into Gary's mod. And we're going to basically do a stress test here. And hopefully, with this new memory module, we're now stable. Now, we do have a little bit of glitching going on in the video here. Remember, we do not have the our video card in yet, so I'm hoping that that's what the cause of this little glitching is. So we're going to do find a multiplayer game again. Trying to find something that's not too violent, but of course, you know, with Gary's mod, you're never too sure.
History.
So we're going to go to history here, and we're going to go to Bunny Hop, which is the one we were using before. And we're going to join the server. So far, we are seeing glitching, but I'm assuming that glitching is because of you know, not having our memory, our video card in there yet. So we can see we're actually doing quite well here. The system's, of course, I don't know how to play this game. Space, okay. Don't expect me to get too far. But anyway, so we've already done far more than we did with the other memory module. Now, I suppose the next test is, and I don't even know if you're supposed to do this, we have one more memory module, and I could put the other memory module in. I think that's what I'm going to try to do, but we're going to have to shut down to do that. So at least right now we're very, very happy because our system is stable. So let's cut. Okay, so we have this last memory module. We can't put 4 memory modules in because one of our memory modules is bad. But we're going to put this last memory module in, and I'm going to put it into DIMM1. I'm hoping that that will be satisfactory and that the system will be stable with this. One thing I'm going to be very, very careful about, like I mentioned before, when you're dealing with this bottom module, you know, maybe they should have been packaged so that the you know, the gold plating was actually toward the middle for both cases, because it might be very easy to touch it on the edge here. So what I'm going to do is be very, very cautious how I do this. Just using my, I think it is actually very, very much easier to touch the gold plating on this lower module the way they have it packaged. So that's one thing that maybe Corsair could improve. Okay, so right now I'm going to attempt to put this into the DDR4 memory slot, or I should say the DIMM1 slot. So I'm going to basically open this up, and I'm going to try to get by all these wires that have accumulated and the cooling system as well. So this DIMM 1 slot is kind of hard to get at this point. Let's see if I can do this. Alright, so it's a bit of a tangled mess in there. I haven't really done much in the way of cable management, and having a hard time getting a hold of it here. But I finally have. Okay, so once you have it into those two side slots that are there, it's actually quite easy. The rest of it should go right in, as long as you have it keyed. You want to have the key, and of course right now when it's vertical, the key is actually toward the bottom of the DIMM slot, not toward the top. And of course that may vary based on your configuration, but in our case, always check where the actual keying is. You can see it in the slot itself, and we seem to be in there good right now. So I'm just making sure everything is seated properly. Always making sure that I ground myself to the case first, and we're not on a carpeting surface. So at this point I think we're good. And the main goal here at this point is I just want to see, are we stable with 3 memory modules? We know we're stable with 2, and I don't know, I'm presuming we can use the DIMM 1 slot now that we have DIMM 2, DIMM 4, and then DIMM 1. So that's what I'm presuming. So let's hope that I'm right. Gonna power on. Once again, MSI is going to put us into BIOS because it'll recognize that there's a memory configuration change. And so we're just waiting for that to come up. So right now those debug LEDs, they do go on initially before it actually boots. So we're waiting. Okay, so that's gone off. This VGA is on. Good. Okay. VGA tends to come on right before it throws up the BIOS. Of course, we just pressed F1 to go into setup. Once again, I'm not doing any overclocking at this point, so I'm just exiting setup. As soon as I get in there, just say yes. And now we should be booting. So any debug LEDs coming on. Okay, we do have a DRAM LED that's coming on. Let's see if this is going to be persistent or just temporary. So it's like I don't know if it needs to operate with all 4 DIMM slots filled. Okay, so the DRAM LED came off. Next question is whether or not, okay, now the VGA, okay, good. So it took a little bit of time there, but we are getting to the MSI boot logo. Windows has control, you can tell by the way it has the circle of dots there. So looks like we're in good shape. Okay, so we now have 24 gig of memory. And this is our first boot, and we're basically just trying to see if we are stable with 24 gig of memory. Now, I would essentially like to have 32 gig, but at the moment we can't do that because we have one bad memory module. So right now things are looking okay, and I'm going to do our usual stress test, which is Gary's mod. And so I'm starting that up. If we can start this up without any glitches other than the video glitches that we've seen. This is from the onboard graphics. So right now we seem to be okay. So I'm going to do, once again, find the multiplayer game, do history, and I'm going to look for the bunny hop servers and jump on those for a stress test. Now, I can tell that one of the things I'm going to be concerned about for now is just that little glitching that we're seeing in the video area. And really hoping that the MSI gaming video card takes care of that problem. Alright, so we're still... okay, here we go. So now we seem to have a different...
Left.
Different thing.
Close weight.
Oh, close weight. I was going to say, this seems to be a little bit different. This is actually different. Did I pick a different server?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's going on then. Alright, so this is a different server. Doesn't seem to be quite as active as the other one, but as you know, typically you can't even get this far if your system is unstable. So this is looking like a pretty good test. Alright, So at this point, we're pretty happy. Our memory situation is not perfect, but it is far better than it's been before, and our system is stable. So at this point, we're gonna close this video, and next video is gonna be putting in the graphics card.